I'm Edie Lush, and I'm here inside the Hub Culture studio. It's Davos 2020, back with a repeat guest. Thanks very much for coming along, Aron.
Really good to see you.
Aron Cramer, CEO and President of BSR. Now, I want to start out with what Davos kicked off with, which was a kind of excitement around the annual letter from Larry Fink from BlackRock. What did you make of it? And tell me how you read it and what you made of it.
Well, Larry Fink's letter has become a little bit of an annual tradition. The last 3 years, he has staked out new ground on sustainability, and coming from the biggest asset manager in the world, it's hugely important. So there are lots of opinions about this letter and about what BlackRock is doing. But I think it is undeniably an important step forward. It's a symbolic step forward, and given the size of BlackRock's business, it will have impact. And the voice that he has is also causing a lot of his peers and CEOs in other sectors to step up. And by the way, for those of us who work on sustainability, it's a really important proof point to say this is something that maybe fringe investors used to pay attention to, but now it's squarely in the center of the decisions about how to allocate some of the biggest assets in the world.
But one concern that I've heard people express is that it's a little bit of, there's a worry about tokenism, because in terms of the actual changes he's making to his own portfolio, they're not that great. The future investments, there's some clear priorities, but in terms of what's existing, there's not a huge amount of change. Is that the wrong way to look at it?
Well, you know, necessary but sufficient is a phrase that I seem to be using a lot these days, and it is a good step forward. There's no doubt about that. Is it enough? No. Are some of his peers not even at the point where he or BlackRock is?
Name names?
You know, there have been lots of articles about Vanguard, and Vanguard has said we're not quite there yet. So, so I think we all need to move. This is an important step forward. It can't be the end point. We've got a long ways to go. All the data are telling us that we're not where we need to be on climate. We're not where we need to be on the SDGs. We're not where we need to be with respect to gender equity and pay and a whole host of issues. So we're going to need more, but this is a step in the right direction, and frankly, I think there's no debating that.
And do you think that your message, I know, is around action, and what do you want companies to be doing?
Well, putting investments in the economy that is emerging, an economy that is based on clean energy, an economy that realizes that for companies to thrive, we have to maintain biodiversity, that nature is also a solution. That's number one, that set of issues. Number two, there's an immense number of social and economic issues. We're here in Davos at a time when faith in capitalism, faith in markets, is at its lowest point in probably 40 years. That should send as loud as possible a message that we basically need more economic fairness. We need better pay equity from top to bottom inside companies. We need to make sure that people can have livelihoods that where they can actually thrive, and we need equity in the workplace and beyond. And then there's governance, and I think governance is broken in many ways. Boards are not yet making sure that companies are committing to the kind of future that will deliver on the SDGs, but I also think will be the only way that a company can be certain that it'll actually be around in 2030, let alone able to thrive.
Do you like this phrase, stakeholder capitalism? Do you think it makes sense?
You know, there are a lot of words you can use, and the phrases come and go. You know, we might have talked about shared value 5 or 10 years ago, stakeholder capitalism. The point is, do we have economic fairness? Are we managing our natural resources? And are people treated fairly? Those are the core ideas. And I like stakeholder capitalism, though, because it also brings in the notion that employees, communities, customers, civil society, their interests have to be taken to heart. But the end point is not the process of stakeholder capitalism, it's delivering an economy that truly works for everyone.
Aron, thank you so much for stopping by the Hub Culture studio. Thank you for supporting the podcast as well. I'm Edie Lush, and it's Davos 2020.